place it on record that a lot of weapons were recovered from them, locally made weapons, with which they perpetrate different forms of evil. What they do is to stay in the forest and come out, attack and go back and run back deep into the forest. Over 100 of these people were loaded with trucks, 2 trucks, and they were about to be distributed along the forest belt of the state, starting from Ore End, Ofosu, Ore End. We have profiled them, and we found out that all of them, with the exception of only 3, do not even know where they were being taken to. They don't have an idea. Their masters just sent them into the forest to await further directives. The governor has therefore directed that they be sent back to where they came from. Yes, there's freedom of movement in Nigeria, but you must have a purpose.
I would really appreciate the governor for saying they should take them back. Or else it's a criminal thing to come without any and enter forest to cause problem here.
Very much. There's a breaking news that the Amotekun has finally been able to comb the Ondo's forest inside the Osun state to bring out over 500 Fulani'S who have been camping there illegally. We must understand that there was a time the Fulani'S challenged the Yorubas, and they said that the Yorubas' ancestral forest is their irredeemable ancestral land, that nobody can dare collect or retrieve that land from them. This was when the terrorism was at the height in Igboho, which is the territory between Ibarapa in Oyo State. Now, today we heard a news, and it is indeed a good news to every Southwesterners, because we know that the Fulani'S, when they are about to strike, the first thing they do is they carry themselves, they migrate in large numbers, and then they camp in the forest. They camp in the midst whereby there's no network, there's no any means of social amenities. They derive that joy and peace living amongst animals, and from there they start striking. They start going into the city and start kidnapping people, start taking people for ransom, and then they start laying siege. But again, the Amotekun, which may God continue to rest the soul of Akeredolu in peace, because if not for Akeredolu, we wouldn't have had what is called Amotekun today in Southwest. Maybe Southwest would have been as worse as Northwest is, because we know the proximity Ilorin, Kebbi has to Oyo State, and we know from Oyo State there is a borderline that the Fulani people might just trail and get themselves into Ondo State. Don't forget, as of 2023, I think was it 2023 or late 2022, the Fulani'S attacked a church on Sunday in Owo. And that very day, which was a sad day, nothing less than 45 people lost their souls. These were Christians who were at the place of worship, just praying to God for mercy. And what would they have? The Fulani'S came with their horror and terror. They terrorized them. Nobody could go to that church for over a year. The president of today had to contribute 50 million. But what can 50 million do when over 45 people have lost their lives? So we say that kudos to Amotekun, that we still need them to go into the bushes. We need them to invade those bushes, comb them, because we know that the Fulani'S are still there. Let me give them another nudge. The Lagos-Ibadan Express Road, you know there's forest to your left and to your right. Today we are being told that the Fulani'S have taken over all those bushes. If you are going on the road, if your car mistakenly stops there, maybe you have a fault, your car develops a fault, so you needed to stop by and seek mechanic. If you are not careful, you'll be kidnapped. Last year, around January, February, March, April, there was this rampant kidnapping that was going on, whereby the police needed to be stationed along that Lagos-Ibadan. I hope you have not forgotten. Then, anything from 6 o'clock, people started running for their lives. Nobody wanted to remain on the road of Lagos-Ibadan Expressway because it was timed unsafe. They began to say that those places are no-go area, that when you are a civilian, ensure, no matter what, don't find yourself on the road of Lagos-Ibadan Express Road. And this is what we must know. This is what we must do. And this is why the Southwest has been the most peaceful region in Nigeria, because the Southwesterners will not play politics with insecurity. You would not forget, or if in case you forget, let me remind you. The Southwest governors just last week, they all met and they agreed that they have to galvanize their collective resource to fight against the insurgency of these marauding bandits. That we understand that they have not been encroaching into Osun State. We discovered that there's a terrorist sleeper cell in Osun State, precisely around Owo, Iwo, whereby an Islamic religion leader has been preaching for Islamic terrorism. He has been preaching for Islamic extremism. And this man was captured. When he was captured, they asked him, why are you preaching what we call Islamic extremism? Why are you saying that some children should go and take guns and start chasing people that don't want to accept Islam as a fanatics? That man was apprehended, and that man was asked some critical questions. He was asked that, who is the person financing you? And that was when we found out that that man had some connections with the ISWAP. You know, so we are beginning to see the encroachment of this element. And it is better that we did what? We nipped the bud as early as possible. Because when you do not nip the bud as early as possible, before you know it, it will germinate, it will start having branches, it will start bearing fruits, and before you know it, it will overwhelm us. Let me tell you, the only region that if these people ever encroach, and if they succeed, that they can never be defeated in Southwest. If they find a way to penetrate Lagos State, do you know how many billionaires they will kidnap? Should we start from the billionaires in Lekki Ekpe? Before you go to Ikeja, before you go to Mushi, before you go to Isolo, before you go to Apapa, before you go to Ajawo Estate, before you go to Ikotu, before you go to Ikate, as they are kidnapping Igbo man, they will be kidnapping Yoruba man. As they are kidnapping Yoruba man, they will be kidnapping their fellow Hausa man in Agege. You know that Lagos State is like another country on its own. People here do not understand what we call hardship or what they call bad leadership, because they understand that there is opportunity. There is opportunity in Lagos. So imagine these terrorists find their way into Southwest, because if for any reason they have their way to encroach into Oyo State, by extension they will get access into Ondo, they will get access into Ekiti, Osun, then Ogun State. When they get to Ogun State, then we must know that there's no going back. This is a good news that the Amotekun have been able.
But thank you. We have not been hearing about the Amotekun in Lagos State. Is it that is there no need for it?
The point is, the Lagos State governor has been in support of the regional formation of a security outfit that will combat terrorism. I do not understand why the Lagos State governor Sanwo-Olu has been trying to pull out. But I can see he has showing serious concern, and they have been ready to cooperate and work with the Amotekun now, because it is now evident that no part of Southwest can isolate itself. Everybody must work collectively as a team and as a unit to protect the heritage and of course the ancestral resources that belongs to the collective people of the Southwest. Now we can see that there has been a series of meetings going on in Lagos State, which has been spearheaded by the Lagos State team, and we can see that truly that there is an agreement to fight the Fulani'S. Let us take a look at the history of the Fulani'S. The Fulani'S have been known to be marauders, to be poachers, to be invaders. You know, today, when the Amotekuns were going for their routine checkpoint raids and they discovered this lorry, that video, you can see that these elements had nothing less than 200 Fulani'S. They masqueraded themselves as people who were bringing foodstuffs. But not the foodstuffs alone. When they did some serious investigation, they found out that In that lorry, there were weaponries. There were guns, there were machete, there were all manners of heinous and of course, very, very dangerous weapons. And when they asked them, where are you people coming from? They said they were coming from the north. They asked them, where is your ID card? They couldn't present ID cards. When they dig deep, they found out that these were Fulani's indeed, but they were not Fulani's who are Nigerians. So we want to imagine a country whereby if the Fulani's are not there, how peaceful will this country be? Imagine a Nigeria where we do not have to tinker or to worry about some elements who can come like thieves in the middle of the night without contribute anything meaningful. What they want to do is just take away your resources. They want to take away your harvest. These are who they are, the Fulani's element. So we encourage, and of course, we want to protest that we need more of these actions to be taken, because I think there's a new agenda, and I think there is a new place the Fulani's are trying to set their gaze on, which is the Southwest that has been relatively peaceful for the last 24 years. Their agenda now is to have their time in the Southwest. And we saw how the Sultan started intervening in religious matters that he has no business with. We saw how the Sultan started saying that the Southwest must accept Sharia court, that the Southwest Muslims should have what we call religious freedom. Has there ever been a time the Southwest never enjoyed religious freedom? So I think there is a sinister agenda, there's something smelly, there's a scheme that we need to suspect. Why is it now that the Sultan is interfering in the Yoruba land Muslim affairs? Why is it now that the Fulani's are beginning to have bandit sleeper cells? And why is it now we are now seeing Fulani elements encroaching in large numbers, carrying arms, guns, cutlass, all manners of dangerous weapons? What is their plan? It is clear that the agenda is to come and take the peace that we have been enjoying. They want to rob off the peace. They want to start taking us for ransom. They want to start terrorizing us. But I know that we the Southerners, we will not play politics. Because when some people came with their madness of Yoruba nation, seeking for help, it was highly rejected. So these Fulani elements will be fished out, they will be ostracized, they will be dealt with, they will be spoken with in a language they understand, and they will be sent back home. In the 1814, when they tried to invade Alaafin of Oyo under the leadership of Uthman Danfodio, they failed. When we had the Kiriji War, when they tried to invade Oyo State, coming through Ilorin, they failed at that river. Today again, the Fulani cannot have another battle and think they will succeed. They will eventually fail again. In fact, they have failed. Okay, so El-Rufai shouting that nuts are the real kingmakers. Let us quickly go into history and see how Obasanjo won the 2003 election. Yeah, as you can see on my screen, as you can see that from what we have here, all the way from the middle belt down to the south, southeast and southwest, Obasanjo was able to get 24 million, while Buhari scored 12.49, approximately 12.49 million. And what does that mean? This simply means that a person like Peter Obi, who in the last election did not, not really bad, can win an election in Nigeria without the El-Rufais, without the Buharists, as it were. If you take a look at that map again, you will see that all the way from Plateau to your left, Kebbi to your right, Bauchi, down to Taraba, down to the Kogi, Ilorin, Nasarawa, then to southwest, you can see that a candidate can always come from any of that region without the so-called Fulani'S, issuing words of threat that no person, no man, no individual can become a Nigerian president if they do not endorse or vote for him massively. If El-Rufai comes out and be specific that they made Tinubu the president, I don't think anybody will agree. But it is insulting for El-Rufai to sit on an high horse and thinking he's dishing out orders and threats that nobody can become a president if the North do not vote for him. Now, for El-Rufai's information, and this information even goes beyond El-Rufai. This goes to all the Fulani caliphates, all the Fulani oligarchs, all the Fulani political juggernauts who think they are the kingmakers in the Nigerian politics. Here is the information, and here's the breaking news. The Middle Belt is not part of the North. Yes, and that is the politics Tinubu has understudied, and he has taken it upon himself that since the likes of El-Rufai and since the likes of this Borno guy, Zulum, Shetima, because they are all working in cahoot. You can see that Shetima has been quiet. They know what they are doing. When the likes of Atiku has them as the mole in Tinubu's government, trying to ensure they hit him right from inside like a log of wood with what? With crickets. You get the point? So Tinubu has seen that if I rely on these guys, because I am not ready to do their biddings, I am not ready to be at their beck and call, because I will not watch and allow the Sultan to achieve his agenda, to Islamize, to Fulani'S, and of course to Sharianize the whole of South. I am a liberal Muslim, and that is what the Yorubas have always been known for. Understandably, we have some, little Yorubas who are Muslim extremists, but they are in their minority. And we can see how the Sultan has tried to just pack up that religious divide, whereby those minority extremists who live in the Yoruba land have been sort of speaking up, trying to be vocal. But I like what they've done. They've silenced them and they've sent a stern warning to Sultan. In fact, I'm going to get to that point in my conversation. Let me go back to this issue of El-Rufai. So you can see, Tinubu has seen this and he has said, okay, what are we going to do? What is the weakest link in this Fulani hegemony? And he has seen that the weakest has always been where the attacks has always been recurrent, and that is in the Middle Belt. And this includes the Plateau, this includes the Nasarawa, this includes Kogi, Niger. Okay, Niger to some extent are defeated because the governor has come out to say that, well, we welcome Fulani'S, but the Kogi, the Plateau, the Nasarawa have always said no. We are not in any way related, affiliated, similar. We do not think like those that reject Western education. We are civilized, developed, we are Christians, and we are people who are progressive. We don't want to be stuck in that Muhammad jihadism system of government. We are progressive in nature. We want to be adaptive to the new technologies that is happening around the world. And this is why you see that Tinubu has now opened a developmental commission. He has also pushed some few political agendas, appointing the CDS from Southern Kaduna. The Southern Kaduna people today are beginning to see themselves as a real owner of their territory. They are no longer lost voices. You can see them. Tinubu came out and he has inaugurated a federal government university for Southern Kaduna. These are all games, and these are the things that are throwing the likes of El-Rufai off balance. It is throwing them off balance. They cannot believe what is happening to them. It's more or less like they are confused, asking the question, you rode on our back of this Muslim ticket, If Tinubu was a Christian, you wouldn't have seen the likes of El-Rufai and so many other people that stood still behind Tinubu during that campaign period. I think why Tinubu remained to be a Muslim all along was just for only this goal to deceive the North. I think that is the only reason why he stood, why he remained, because he doesn't act like a true Muslim. Ever since he became president, we started seeing him going to mosque every Friday, and then they make it a photo op thing. You know, they always show it as a photo showcasing. When Tinubu wasn't the president, we hardly see him in mosques. We only know